want to record and
Yeah,
Do you
and
want Leah? You want
we
her in the
are
video?
putting. Yeah, so Amaya wants to sleep
Okay. Hi,
tonight.
Maya. You want to see
hi.
what mommy
This
does?
is Amaya, and yeah, she wanted to sleep with me tonight. I told her I was doing the podcast, but yeah,
Are you okay
yes,
to be
hold on.
there, Maya?
Yes, come in.
Yeah. Everybody's
So
done
yeah, everybody's
working.
trying to
Michelle.
come in. Yeah, hey, and then
What's wrong?
her brother is
What's wrong, Liam?
Oh, hello.
Be a family affair, eh?
I
I
told
can just invite mine from upstairs too.
Oh, they
I'll
are. Oh
invite them
yeah,
both.
it's 5 p.m.
They're upstairs. Yeah, because it's 5 p.m. here.
I can't think.
I
Yeah,
actually,
it's 11.
my daughter woke up in the night last night, and I was in
There's
her
a
bed, but she's
there's a sleeping.
not the best at sharing, so it's a bit tricky. I just like, when you're tired and you're like, all right, just come in the bed with me.
Yeah.
That sort of, and
Yeah.
yeah, she came in the bed with me, and I was like, oh, can't really sleep. But anyway, I do want.
I had one of those nights last night too, like one on each side.
Yeah.
So there's like hubby sleeping, one kid, me, another kid, and I'm the one that's like
Yeah, we have
the only one not sleeping, but they're sleeping. So I'm like, okay, that's good.
Good. And you notice, like, actually, like when you're getting older or what have you, you wake up in the morning and you think, okay, gosh, I must have really had a good night out for just
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe been sleeping in an awkward position, but really it was just can't handle it like we used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Dr. Kavita, or shall I just call you Kavita? What do you want me
You
to
can
do?
call me Kavita.
Okay. Or I should say in the UK, Kavita. Is it Kavita or Kavida, as I would say in the US?
Kavita.
Kavita.
Kavita. Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
I will stick with it. But yeah, I saw you on Instagram actually, and I really taken to you. I think you were doing like a dance video or what have you.
On
And I
TikTok.
thought,
Oh yeah,
wow, I love
guys, she has a TikTok. They like watching
Or is it?
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, she's quite cool, and she's a mom too. That's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it. That's just fun little video. That's kind of how this all started a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when were you diagnosed, and sort of what's your
I
story?
was yeah, sure. So I'm Kavita Jackson. I am over here in DC and I work as an ER doctor up in
Oh wait, you're
Maryland, not too far.
DC. How were you yesterday with all this stuff?
We're okay. We're okay. Yeah, we're a little bit we're in Northwest, so we're a little bit further from
Okay.
it. We've just been careful and we've not really left the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. So we're safe and we're okay.
It's a pandemic as well, isn't it? So it's a bit like
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And you guys know how that is. I heard you're in lockdown again. And
yeah. It's like
yeah.
stay home, just stay home.
Yeah. Like just stay home. All the reasons to stay home. So
Yeah, definitely.
yes, this world kind of opened up to me. So December 2019, just a little over a year ago, I just felt this pain in my right breast and I kind of grabbed it and I felt a mass there that honestly, I mean, it was 4 centimeters. It was pretty big, from my side profile, it's kind of protruding. I mean, I'd never looked for it, but I know if I had, I would have found it. I don't know when, but I definitely would have found that. Fast forward to March, I got my primary care doctor and all of that because we had just moved from Philadelphia to DC. I was getting my kids settled. I was starting my brand new job as an attending. My husband's getting, just all this chaos. They got their doctors. I found the lump and then it was my time. Very astute doctor, recommended the full workup and everything in March last year. So that's when I found out. Around the same time the pandemic was hitting here as well. And so I kind of stopped work because I had to go through chemo. And so I was like, okay, frontline workers are doing this and I'm kind of just on the sideline, kind of on my own frontline, I guess, going through chemo. Had a good response to chemo, 8 cycles, and then I had
one
the
did you do?
lumpectomy and lymph nodes.
Which chemo?
I had, so I did the Red Devil, that's the adriamycin AC, so adriamycin cytoxin, I believe.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then the second round, I think it was doxorubicin then.
Okay.
So yeah, I did 4 with one and 4 with the other. And then
Okay,
the
yeah.
surgery, we had good response, and I was no evidence of disease then, so that was great. And then I moved forward with the double mastectomy. I'm BRCA negative, but my biggest concern was reduce the risk, like just never, do everything I can in my power to make, whatever I can to make sure this does not come back. And they quoted me a 1% chance of recurrence a year. And I just, at the age of now I'm 33, but 10, 20 years, I if I'm here, a 20%, 10% chance of breast cancer coming back it was too much for me, too much. So did the double mastectomy. I'm healed up and I'm just kind of waiting for my immune system to be okay enough to get back to work. So.
Oh, cool. So it must have been quite a trying time for you because you were new to the area, new to DC.
Yeah.
And,
What stage were
as
you
mentioned,
diagnosed
getting
at?
out-
I was stage 2, I think, based on size, either a 2A or a 2B at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so you must have had quite a bit, like obviously you had quite a bit going on, the DC thing, moved from Philly to DC, all of a sudden this breast cancer came at you, you wanted to get settled at work, now you're off work, etc. How are you feeling at that time? Because it's quite a bit to go through, isn't it?
Awful. It was just mass confusion. I think the beginning, hands down, was the most difficult time for me. You hear the big C word, and I had my full blown denial. Like, my records got mixed up. Maybe we need to look at it again. Like, a port, chemo, MRI. Wait, hang on. I'm still stuck, back at the cancer word. I didn't say cancer for many, many weeks. But just the uncertainty, you don't know what stage, you don't know, has it spread, you don't know what treatment do I need, you don't know any of those things. So you just have no context. And for me, I felt like my head just went to the worst, like the deepest, the darkest. I went from 0 to 100,
Yeah.
So.
And did you see, obviously you've got, diagnosed with cancer, what have you, it brings out all these feelings, when you hear you've got cancer and all that sort of thing. And did you find that you sort of had your doctor head on, or did you have like oh wait, I'm on the other side now, hold up, what's going on?
No, I think I've definitely worn both heads through the whole experience. It's really hard to ignore that, the doctor head, but sometimes I have to rein that doctor head back. Like, you're getting too ahead of yourself, like, leave that to your doctor. You don't have to carry all of those things, let your care team do some of their job and stop trying to take care of everything. But I had access to, I know how to read medical literature and, evaluate certain things. And I had that all at my fingertips on my phone. And I just, dive deep into researching every little thing that I could, but that made me feel a sense of control, understanding, being involved with what was going on with the treatment plans. I think helped me feel a sense of control over what's going on. Because, you hear the big C word and it's just like, it's not even that you lose the control. I feel like control has just been like snatched from you, of your life, your body, all the things that you go through afterwards. So to have that at my fingertips, for me, comforting, at least from the doctor head. And then personally, that took a while to transition into the patient, to that side, because I've just never had to do it. How do you practice do it? You don't, you're just there one day.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah, I know, like when I was diagnosed, I remember I was at the doctor, they were telling me I had cancer, what have you. I think I had my baby with me actually, so it was just like, oh, what do I do with her now? But then I was kind of like, okay, had that little moment where the little tears came down. I was like, okay, I can do this. And then as soon as I left, I kind of went into autopilot mode and I was like, right, I've got to call the insurance, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And I was already trying to solve my problems,
It's so hard to think about those things when you're just dealing with you're like, wait, cancer, like, how am I going to handle all the other things that come with it?
Yeah. And it's one of those sort of moments where, it's just the shock and the awe. I think probably similar to you as well, Angie, wasn't it? Where you just kind of, your diagnosis took a long time, pretty much.
Yeah, it took them like 9 months to diagnose me, but I was officially diagnosed May 2019. And it was like same with you, like a whole denial at first, like, because for months the doctors had been telling me that it's not cancer and that I have, I don't have to worry about that in that front. So it was just a complete shock. Just like, but you said that this wasn't it.
You
Yeah,
said.
and
Oh,
like you said, I didn't meet the profile. You said we were looking for something else. So like, how can this be, exactly what you said it wasn't, and that it could be at like stage 4 and already just like catastrophic. But again, like I got into like autopilot mode, and I was like, I've got my kids were 4 and 6 at the time. I was like, this is not. I still need to be there for them. This is not what's going to be my downfall or whatever. Like I'm not going out like this.
Yeah,
You're not
So
going to go out like that,
no.
absolutely. That autopilot kicks in. I remember with the, all the millions, it felt like millions of, you hear cancer and then all the tests you had to do before starting chemo. And, they scheduled everything for me, which was really helpful at that time because I wasn't like functioning to take phone calls or, I told people don't call me, like I was not in a condition to be on the phone. But, over time that I was thinking about that, like, I think, I was like, what would I tell my patients, because I have unfortunately had this conversation many times, and that's how I'm familiar with it. And I'm like, think a little, what would you say? What are the things you talk about when you're talking about critical illness or someone who, possibly about death sometimes? And what does that mean? And how do you want to handle your life going forward? I ask them, like, what's most important to you? 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things in your life, like what's the most valuable thing? And like you were saying, Angie, I kind of turned that question to myself and I was like, well, it's my kids. Like, that's obvious, like, and that kind of gave me some, or, my family, my husband, and that gives you some, gave me a little bit of strength to kind of get, I'm on autopilot, at least give me some energy to get through those steps while I kind of started to understand what was going on, come to grips with it, some acceptance and, a strategy of what is the mindset I'm going to have going forward, and how am I, what am I taking from this? How am I going to grow and try to stay positive, but, not blanket over or ignore any of the negative emotions. Cause I think that's understanding the full experience of having cancer. And it's really part of it. And I think having fully experienced and understood those emotions, you can just move forward or continue to move upward or whatever direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was I don't know, for me, like it was hard for me to tell my family. I was like, ooh, it's just, especially because I live abroad or what have you. So I waited quite a while. How did you handle it? So you were new to the area. So you're new to DC. I'm sure you.
I was new to DC. I had my uncle and aunt lived relatively nearby. My mom was actually on her way moving into town. So the weekend she came in to look at apartments near me with my dad, I had my biopsy results the day before she came in. And she's a physician, right? So, and I was just like, like I have to tell her. I was like, I just can't. Going through all of the tests and stuff for those 3 weeks, I told nobody, not even my husband, who knows like every little detail about me. He happened to see like the Band-Aid when I was, I was having like a glass of wine. I was just being like all silly, and like he saw the Band-Aid and was like, hey, what's that? And I was like, oh, I just kind of glossed over it. But I was forced into telling him. But so my mom came into town and I thought, oh Lord, I have to tell her. It would have been better if she wasn't in person, but the fact that she was actually pushed me to do it. And I just pulled up my biopsy result the same way I found out. I chose not to accept the phone call. I read the results myself. That's just how I wanted to do it. But I pulled up the results. She was putting my girls to bed. They fell asleep. She was sitting in bed, and I just like showed it to her, and she was like, she's like, what patient is it? Like, why are you showing me this? And I was like, no, it's mine. Like, scroll up to the top. And she in the same way was like, no.
Yeah.
But she was the only person. Yeah. Everybody else, I sent a brief text out of obligation, like my brother, my closest people wanted you to know this, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Do not call me. Work colleagues, on my way out, I sent a brief email, a brief update of this is what's going on. I'm leaving. If you see, don't approach me, don't bring it up, don't talk to me about it. Like, yeah, I didn't enjoy that part.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tricky actually. I mean, I've been watching sort of Grey's Anatomy in the evenings because sometimes I stay up late at night for whatever reason. Catherine, one of the doctors in the program, who is played by Debbie Allen, I believe,
Uh-huh.
she had cancer or what have you, and she presented the case to all of the top doctors like Meredith Grey and whoever else, and it turned out that it actually was her cancer.
Her own. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she didn't want to talk about it, similar to you or what have you. So she
Yeah.
showed them similar to how you showed your mom, really, without having to say anything, and then they
Yes.
sort of, they went through the doctor speak or whatever, and that was how they kind of moved on. So I get that. So did you sort of I wouldn't say block people out, but did you sort of just kind of say, I'm dealing with this, let me deal with it, just sort of to get by? Or what were your feelings at that time?
I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. Like, I didn't want to answer the questions, and whatever that people had to say, for the most part, they come in like 4 or 5 flavors. If you can, when you say like, I have cancer or have had or whatever, the response usually fits into one of 4 to 5 things. And I didn't want to,
Yeah,
I just didn't want to deal with it.
everything. Yeah, it's just like a trauma, just like
Yeah.
going over it over and over again, and it's just like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Completely agree. And I understand. I feel bad because I have said all of one of those things to somebody before. And then now on this, in this position, I see those comments and that thought very differently. But I completely agree, Angie. I just thought it was reliving the trauma over and over again. So I would copy and paste the same messages over and over and over
exactly.
again.
Yeah, I created a Facebook, not a Facebook, like a WhatsApp, like wellness group, where I would just like,
Yeah.
it started out with just like, some of my closest friends. It ended up with like 50 people on there, but just like,
Mhm.
just so I wouldn't have to keep telling everyone. And even now, like, I don't really update so much because again, it's just like, you don't want to have to relive or, just go through.
Yeah.
But I mean, but when did you decide to like be open about your, because now, like we found you on
Yeah.
Instagram and, like, when did you...
Well, yeah, now I feel very differently about the, it actually started because of this, trying to keep my loved ones updated. I'm very fortunate to have a very huge support network, across the world, really. I have a large support in India and all over the country. And I have a lot of family members that care about me. For me to be able to stay in touch with everybody and update everybody without having to individually do it or to relive the trauma is how I actually started my blog. And that was around this time I was starting chemo. I think the first day I had my chemo, nobody could come with me. I was by myself. I had like 6 hours to myself. And the last time I had 6 hours to myself, like, between the hospital and kids and husband and school and study, it's been a very long time. Anyway, so the blog came as an idea. I thought, if I just have to write it here once, and anybody, my friends or anybody who wants to read it can come and do it, and I don't have to keep saying it over and over again. And I'll try to make it as detailed as possible, trying to anticipate the questions and direct them here. And that's how the blog started. And over time, I found the writing to be more therapeutic for myself, actually, just writing some of these things out. I don't post everything I write, but it just felt very good for me as something I've never done before. I'm a hard science type of person. I write research papers and things like that. I don't do creative writing, and I don't consider myself a creative type person, but I kind of really liked it. And then getting towards, getting good response with my treatment and just my mindset and the positivity and feeling good about coming out of this experience and moving forward stronger. And with all these things that I've gained, I started to think of these little motivational excerpts here and there. And that's kind of how some of the videos came apart, just little snippets of like, hey, hey, you're cool, hey, we're here together, just hang in there. I've never seen anybody that looks like me, even as patients. Now I'm kind of going off at my whole tangent, but I've never seen anybody. Yeah, when I was diagnosed, I also struggled because I've never, in all my patients that I've seen with cancer, seen an Indian woman anywhere around the age of 32.
We don't talk about it in our community, in the African American, Caribbean, Indian American, it's like, no,
Yep.
you don't talk about it. It's only after, remission, and nobody needs to. And I found that too, like when I started being public and, talking about my story on Facebook and Instagram, people were like like DMing me and saying, I have it too. And like, and me being shocked, like, what? And, and yeah, it's
Yes.
true. Yeah.
It is. It's a very hushed up, stigmatized sort of thing. And I know my a family member, when I mentioned the blog or some of the social media stuff, they were like, but why? Like, beta log kya kahenge? And that means like, honey, sweetheart, like, what are people gonna say? And I was like, but about what? Like, what do I have to be ashamed of? Like, I'm not understanding. Like, I didn't ask for cancer, right? Like, cancer fell into my lap, very unwelcome. I dealt with it. I'm dealing with it. Like, I'm not understanding what I have to be ashamed of.
Exactly.
So I started connecting with some students, through social media. Some medical students and women in India had found me and wanted me to teach some breast exam techniques and talk about breast cancer. So I did a couple talks on that. And then we just briefly chatted. They were like, yeah, there's all this stigma. People don't talk about it, and it's a big thing, but we recognize kind of quietly that it's a big problem, and we want to bring access to the women that are too ashamed to talk about it or too ashamed to talk about screening. Like, how are you going to get people diagnosed early and save lives if we're too scared to even talk about it? And, and I told them, I was like, I had no idea. People in India, all these Indian women have breast cancer. I had no idea. I've never heard of one person. Yeah. And so I like to be out there to say, hey, like you're saying, Angie, like, hey, we're here, we exist. Let's talk about it. Like, we're here for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
That's sort of the first step, really, like educating, sort of getting the word out there. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. I would get like from my own family member, like, like they would say, like, why are you posting this picture? Like, people are going to see how skinny you are, or people are going to see you have no hair. And it's like, yeah, but that's how I look.
Yeah.
Like, what am I trying to hide?
Right. That's the truth that I'm dealing with, and I'm okay with it. Especially if I've gotten to a place where I'm okay with it and I'm comfortable with it enough that I want to share to potentially empower somebody. Well, yeah, I mean, now you're not going to stop me. I'm just saying, but it takes a lot to get there and to be able to offer that to other people. So
yeah. And with your kids, with your daughters, like, how did you tell them? How old are they?
Oh, so my eldest is 4 and my youngest turned 2 in October. So I'd say they were attentive. I didn't like sit down and have a talk. We just kind of fell into it. Like, they would, they had seen my port, they see the Band-Aid, and they would take the Band-Aid off. They understood my lidocaine numbing cream. And, I have a boo-boo on my chest, and my eldest daughter would like look at the JP drains, sterilely and stuff, and like, she's like, it's like Play-Doh, or what's it called, like slime in there, kind of engage in that way. And, so we didn't really use the word cancer, but they understood. I go to the hospital, I get medicine, I had a surgery, I showed them my wounds, as much as they were interested to see. My youngest, she's kind of like a heavy-handed, spirited kind of, she's like, oh, boo-boo, okay, now let me jump on you. Yeah. She didn't get it as much.
What kind of boo-boo that is.
Yeah. She's like, I'm like, too much. But having that spirit and that energy around, honestly, like, it's just wonders, it's so healing, and just kids are so unencumbered, and just their innocence and how they approach like life and their experience. It's such delight in all this, it's nice.
I think you're right. I think the way obviously children act is they just kind of live in the moment. They don't think about the ins and outs of things. Live in the moment.
And that's what that's what my therapist was telling me too. Like, sometimes when we let ourselves go to the rabbit hole of like what if and everything, and she's like, and we get like that huge FOMO of like, like, this is the ultimate FOMO, like missing out on everything and like your kids' lives and everything. And she's like, yeah, but kids, they're not going to look at it as like, stuff that could have happened, because they only live in the moment. And so,
It's
you
so
being there
true.
for them now and sharing the memories with them now is what they're going to remember. Not, oh, well, she could have been walking me down the aisle, or, could have been there at like,
Yeah.
my graduation or whatever. It's no, it's the in the moment stuff that they, yeah.
Yeah,
I
they're
never
definitely
thought about it.
not, you know.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that, but it's so true. Like they don't, I'm thinking of some things I tried to explain, but my daughters weren't getting it because they weren't thinking that, I'm thinking like 10 steps forward. But I was just talking to my eldest daughter about going back to work, and, I'm trying to coordinate some of those things. And she was like, but don't, like, I don't want you to go back to work. I said, well, but why? What am I going to do? She's like, well, I want you to stay home and play with me. And this
Valid.
through my having breast cancer is the most time I've actually spent with my kids since they've been alive, because I usually am in the hospital, or I'm working nights and weekends and things like that, so I see them while they're sleeping. But there's days, sometimes they're weeks, where I just see them sleeping. And so because of breast cancer and because of being home and COVID and their schools being closed, I've been, schools and daycare, I have been with them almost 24/7. And I think it's brought a nice balance to my hospital life, like something I was just really looking forward to. When can I get some more time at home? And that was a true silver lining for me, to just, be there. And it's going to be a transition now to, going back to work. But I'm really grateful to have had that.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned a good point there, the whole silver lining. So obviously, in any situation, there's always a silver lining, isn't there? And I think you
Yeah.
brought it home right there, just spending more time with your children when you knew that you would excuse me, my throat is being a bit funny. When you'd possibly still be at work or what have you, and that might sort of, through all the strife, through all the, the hard times or what have you, that must make you feel really good, I think. I would guess.
It does. It really does. And it's a huge thing that I take away from this experience, is that it allowed me to have that experience. And so it's like so many conflicting emotions in the end, because I never would have chosen this path, and I still wouldn't wish this on anybody, but I'm coming out of this with more wins than I see losses, actually. So I'm really happy about that.
And a lot of that has to do with mindset, doesn't it? Just the way that you see things, you see the world, and coming out on the other half. Angie and I are trying to get into mindfulness at the moment, aren't we, Angie?
Yeah, trying to do more meditating, mindfulness, and being in the now, all of this, mind over matter. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
have you found anything that works for you, Vita, that you've tried that you normally do, or any alternatives, or any?
I try to think of it. They try to bring wellness into healthcare providers and lives and stuff, but it's always something like meditation and yoga. And like, I've tried that and they're okay, but it's like, I just suck at them. And then I'm like, I'm like, this is not for me. But sometimes I almost feel like, this just sounds so dramatic, but sometimes any moments that I have to myself, it's just kind of like just me being in the moment with myself. Like if I am, like if I'm in the shower, I take a long hot shower by myself. That's it, just me with my thoughts almost, which is, I guess, being in the moment for me. I can't hear any of the noise, the screaming and the yelling in the background and all that kind of stuff, but I can just be with my thoughts. And then I think getting back into working out recently, I've been working out with kettlebells, and it's something about that I kind of feel like in the zone. I have like the music I want, like I'm feeling like I'm improving my body, I'm gaining strength and recovering from a lot of the effects of chemo and surgery, and so that kind of feels like a mindset. I'm kind of focusing on what I'm doing, and that takes me away from some of my distracting thoughts of the day. But
I think you have to find what works for you.
Yeah. How is meditation working for you guys?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll start it off because I'm similar to you. I'm not a relaxed person. I've had my ovaries out, and my mind is in the menopause, so I'm just all over the place sometimes. But similar to you with the children, especially with the homeschooling or home learning at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, I can relate to you in the sense that when I had my chemotherapy, I wanted to go alone. I wanted some time to myself. Let me just chill. And then when I started having docetaxel, they were like, "Oh, you need to bring someone with you." And I was like, "What?" I had an allergic reaction to that one. I was like, "What?" But I did have a friend go with me. And it was fine. It was okay. But
Yeah.
it wasn't that time to yourself sort of moment. Mindfulness for me is a work in progress, I think. So I
Mm-hmm.
started using the Calm app. I'm not consistent. I admire my friends that are very calm, and I
Mm-hmm.
attain to like them. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just starting to get in the habit of it now, I think, actually. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it might work for me. And I'm not a relaxed person at all, but now that I'm homeschooling again, I definitely told myself that I have to start making this a focus and just
Yeah.
start doing it. And it's
Making it like a priority for yourself, like bringing
yeah,
that balance of, but I agree, a work in progress for sure.
Yeah.
a work in
I
progress.
don't, it's not going to be a one thing that's going to work forever for everybody. So,
Yeah. And a
Or
lot
not
of times
even the
people
first
think,
time.
a lot of times people think meditation is like you trying to stop your thoughts. And it's really not that,
yeah,
like we're humans. We always,
right.
like our minds are just always going to be like going. And it's just like, it's just noticing it and like not having judgment about it and just, moving on. But yeah, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, definitely a work in progress. It's a muscle. You have to build it every day,
Mm-hmm.
as even if it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Um, yeah, I mean, some days I don't, and I notice like the difference when I don't do it. Like my day
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like out of whack, and I'm less centered and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But no, I was gonna say, apropos music, what's on your playlist? Do you have like like any
Yeah,
songs that you love listening
Oh,
to, or like
that's our main
I do. Actually, this is funny. I like MIA. I'm
oh,
not
okay.
sure if you're
Yeah,
familiar with
yeah,
her.
yeah.
She's a little hip hop rap, and I think
yeah.
she's from. At some point, she identifies with the UK. I believe
Yeah,
she
Yeah,
like was
yeah, yeah,
born or yeah,
yeah.
Sri Lankan. Anyway, she featured on this song by Bauer called Temple recently, or
Okay,
not recently. I'm sorry, but that's what I'm listening to. It's called Temple.
tempo.
And I just like it. I think I'm going to use it for another TikTok,
Oh,
actually,
okay.
because she just comes out. The first line is about warriors. She's like, "Hey, warriors, like, you don't got to worry about money. Like, you got me. Like, we're together. You don't need anybody. You don't need anything. You
Yeah.
have us. Like, you have
Mhm.
me." And I think that's a nice message for anybody, anybody who
Mm,
is affected by breast cancer. Really, many people, warriors of all kinds, right? There's so many different kinds. But I do like that message. And I just like her strong, voice and presence in her,
mhm,
what she stands for. So
Yeah,
mm.
cool, cool. I mean, yeah, music plays a big part in our life, Angie, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think in songs, I've always got a song in my head related to
what do you
something.
listen? What have you been listening to recently?
I'm just so random, just like everything, pretty much everything, just whatever comes to
Carly
mind. I mean,
Carly
the other day
thinks
I
in
had
song. So like whatever you
singing
say,
song.
Ah,
it's a song, like with those
I
lyrics.
was
So,
like,
like,
the other day my song was All at Once by Whitney Houston. It just came to my
mm,
mind like it was,
mm-hmm,
the whole thing in DC, like trying to homeschool the first day. It just all came out all at once.
mm-hmm.
I had to get the mic out and just have a bit of karaoke. Just get it out. Get it out, let it flow. Can't get those high notes like I'm telling you. Can't get those
mm,
high notes
Ah,
like but
oh my gosh.
yeah, so I kind of listen to everything actually. I haven't heard that song by MIA, but I'll definitely
Yeah,
check that
I
out.
like all of her stuff.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's
love
nice
it.
when you have someone that you enjoy. But that actually having you mentioned that actually that song, I just wanted to have a chat with you about Warrior then. So Angie and
Hmm.
I talk this term Warrior quite a bit, don't we, Angie, with various people.
Mhm.
And I don't know, like how would we define warrior in regards to cancer? We see it in adverts or commercials or in the news or whatever. It's just everywhere. This warrior. We're like heroes, guys.
Hmm. Hmm.
How do you feel about that, and how do you take it? I mean, Angie and I have got our own opinions. obviously, but happy to go first.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. I think when I really didn't think about it till I was starting some of the Instagram posts and stuff and thinking about hashtags of, I knew, I was seeing Survivor, I'm familiar with Thriver. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I like that, thrive, like make the, you're really doing well or making the best of the situation. Pre-Viver was new to me. And I don't have BRCA, so, or any other genetic predisposition, so I didn't really fit that. And then I saw warrior, and I don't know, I liked it. I was like, okay. When I think warrior, I think I fought, like I went to battle, like I went to war. I'm a fighter, and that's what it spoke to, and I felt it was empowering, and I felt more strength from that. And I think it can apply to anybody, right? It's not just anyone in remission. And Survivor was, I guess Survivor could really be anybody because you're surviving the whole time, right? That's what we're doing. We're fighting to survive. But for me, I was kind of thinking more remission, and, warrior just felt like a mindset I had throughout and came out with. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, I mean, you kind of tapped into how, like, obviously we're all new to cancer, aren't we? we didn't
Yeah.
learn it when we were
Crash course.
Yeah.
All these
Yeah.
like terms and things, like definitions. And I mean, pre-Viver, that's a more modern one, I suppose. Warrior for growing up, or survivor, I think, is probably more common as we were growing up. But there's all these different terms in this lingo and language, and you learn about what's politically correct, what's not politically correct, all these different things that come to mind. And I guess I'm still learning as I go, actually, because I'm not down with all the lingo. But warrior, yeah, that's definitely one.
How do you feel about warriors? What's your stance?
I guess I don't really have any particular stance. I think I mentioned it in one of your comments on Instagram. I don't feel like I'm a warrior. I'm just doing what I have to do, that sort of a thing. Although when you have those moments when you feel strong, don't you? Where you're like, yeah, I did it. That this little fake muscle thing comes out. No muscles here anymore, by the way. But yeah, you have your moments when you're feeling strong, you're feeling good, and I don't know, I do a little pose or whatever, and my children laugh at me, but hey, what to do?
I think you're right, because that's very much how I feel. I am like, I've been on a high since coming, with the remission and the double mastectomy and just whatever. So I think I think what you're saying is totally true.
Yeah, and I don't know. I ran a marathon back in the day, so if we're talking 2003, 2001, I don't know. But it sort of gives me that same sort of feeling. When you have those moments, you're like, yeah, I did it. I did this chemo, or I did whatever. You get those feelings, and you get in cancer, you go through the highs and the lows. Really, you're on those different cycles. I think where I probably feel more like a warrior, where I've had to fight, is just with the admins of cancer, really. Just doing what I have to do, but I feel like I'm a bad something. Sorry. The admin side of things, and just sort of, making things happen, reaching out, keeping up with research and that sort of stuff. So for me, that's probably where the warrior kicks in, but I can't really.
And it's all part of it. It's like all part of that experience,
actually,
really.
Part of
for better or for worse.
Yeah. I get a lot of friends who say, like, wow, you're so strong and you're so brave, and you're so, and it's like, well, what other option do I have? Like for me, it seems like, that's
exactly what I was gonna say. Brave is the word. Thing I saw in a post recently after my COVID vaccine, actually, and I was like, brave. I was like, wait, why are they calling me brave? And then I was like, what have I done? I was like, hang on a second, I didn't really understand, and I agree. So when I hear brave, that makes me think of, I'm just doing what anybody would have, many people would have done.
And I said it's just one of those term things. I think it's a learning curve, isn't it, for people on the other side, people dealing with cancer. And then sort of, I guess it's like the feelings around a word if someone were to say something to you. And I think we tapped in a little bit in how, I think you mentioned 5 different ways people would respond. Once, you had cancer, or what have you. And it's just, sometimes wording can be a bit funny, and we take it different ways, as normal would anyway.
Yeah.
But I think oftentimes it's really tricky for people on the other side to even know what to say. And sometimes we don't even know what to say
Yes.
ourselves, do we?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's tricky. So I guess if, I mean, we're chatting a bit more, just thinking about what are some of the things that we've heard that maybe wish we hadn't heard. You don't need to
All the
pinpoint
remedies they tell you, oh, you have to do. Now it's like you have to try
A
this
lot of
drink,
remedy.
and so they always heard so and so drank it, and now it's in remission, and so, and it's just
Yeah.
like, guys, if it really were this easy, don't you think?
I know. I wish, right? But
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's very challenging for caretaker or the people that are responding.
Mm.
That situation's so uncomfortable and awkward. And as much as, yeah, probably more for them than it is us. I feel like when you're at the point where you're telling people, in a certain way, we become more comfortable, but they're never really
Yeah.
comfortable. Yeah, I got a lot of recommended treatments, a lot of things I've looked into myself, different diets and supplements and this and this and this and that. Um,
Mm.
I think free boob job, that's in relationship to breast cancer surgery and stuff like that. And I just bring that up because I myself in my head kind of thought and felt that way about it at one point, which
Right.
is kind of hard to explain. I'm really curious how I believe that thought the way I did, or where my mind was coming from. And, I completely, I mean, it's not free in any way. And we're not just talking finances here,
Mm.
Yeah.
um, so
Mm.
that's what, yeah, I've heard that a couple of times.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, I mostly have heard like, the diet things like kale. People always recommend kale. I mean, we grow kale in my veg patch that I've started in the spring for the rabbit because the rabbit really loves kale in our house. Obviously, can't grow it in the winter. Yeah, I've heard different things. I also, when I lost my hair, I wore a headscarf, so people just thought it was like a fashion statement, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, just I probably have heard various things along the way. Probably the funniest one I've heard, but wasn't funny at the time. But I look like a vampire. That was a pretty good one. I'm just saying when I was walking down the street and not necessarily like didn't know quite how to respond to that one because that was quite new.
Yeah.
But I had
I
my hair was growing back, so it's probably about ear length, really, a bit longer.
yeah.
And I had my port out, or my port
Uh-huh.
just got in. My port just got back in, so I had like a plaster here. There's maybe a little bit of blood, like it just spurts out every now and again, a little mark here or what have you.
Mm.
And I was in a shopping center, and this guy was trying to get me to sign up with his bank or what have you. Obviously, I'm not going to, but I walked by. And he called me a vampire, and I was like, "What?" So you know what I had to do? I had to go back. I had to say something. And I mean, you do hear like these silly, funny little remarks, and luckily I was confident enough actually to just say, look, this is unacceptable. That's just who I am
Mm-hmm.
anyway. But I often think about people that don't feel as comfortable or feel a bit more vulnerable in those type of positions. It must be quite tricky for some people going through the process, and probably us at some point as well, where we hear things or people say things that hurt our feelings really. And I think it's part of the journey really, but again, they don't really train you for that, do they? We don't know these things, do we?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
We don't and they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like this whole like learning curve. So I thought I'd definitely have to go there because that's just one of those things.
Yeah,
So
and there's certain situations, like I think I have a video on, I was getting a lot of comments on my hair, actually a lot of positive comments, but
Mm.
it took me a while to see it as positive, like somebody would say something, I just want to turn around and like, you have no idea, but
You think
they,
you
then I was
know?
like, Kavita, they have no idea. Yeah. So they have no idea. So let's, if you want to respond, just choose a way that empowers you and, educates them, or, so, it doesn't have to be a nasty remark because they
Yeah.
don't know. How could they know? How
Yeah.
would they know? I don't have it like,
Plastered on your
yeah,
forehead.
um,
Yeah.
plastered on my forehead. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's the other
usually a
thing too. Like,
conversation.
sorry?
Oh, you go on, Angie.
No, that reminds me of like, this sometimes being like invisible disease, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times it's like wow, you don't look like you have, stage 4 lung cancer, and you don't, wow, but you look healthy and you look this, and it's like your
Mhm.
body, your outer body doesn't match like what's going on, all the
Yes.
chaos that's going on inside. And
Yeah.
then, having to like defend yourself, or I don't know, having to deal with those comments sometimes can also be
I
traumatic.
I think that's awkward. Yeah, yeah. Like people say, oh yeah, I got that, like, well, with steroids, part of my treatment, I never looked on the frail side. I
Mm.
became plumper, which I think most people were very confused about. I gained like 20 pounds through my treatments, which I was like, but and it's something I'm struggling with. But your skin
Hear
looks
you.
really good, your weight is good, you seem to have a good appetite. And I think it's like meant to uplift. And I'm like, oh, once again, like, oh, that's great. Like, I'm glad it looks like that. But I feel like ASS. But
Mhm.
then it's like, how much is too much? Like, how much do I have to convey to you how awful I feel? Like, what is purpose, I guess? Like, am I complaining too much? Is this traumatic for me? I'm just like, do I suck it up? And do you,
Mm.
yeah.
Well, it's like that question, like when someone asks you, "How are you?" or "How really are you doing?"
Yeah.
How you answer that, I suppose. And we kind of talk about that often, Angie, don't we?
Yeah, it was like, okay, do you want the real answer or just the perfunctory,
Yeah.
oh, I'm fine, how are you?
Like, I'm fine, let's move on.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, moving back to the bit about, so when Angie was diagnosed with stage 4 early on, you started on a chemo tablet, didn't you? And I think that's probably where you got a lot of comments from people saying, "But you look fine," because you hadn't
yeah.
lost hair or anything. How did
Yeah, because the
the
chemo
chemo
tablet was
tablet
great. You take
feel?
it every day, you don't lose your hair, your health improves like drastically in a couple of, like 24 or 48 hours. And, you just pray that your body can take it for as long as it can. But in my situation, my non-small cell transformed into a large cell, which is
Mm.
very rare. Like already I have a
Mm-hmm.
rare, disease. And then with lung cancer, there's the whole stigma of, oh, did you smoke? And,
Smoke.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was diagnosed at 37. So I had another doctor one time tell me like, wow, did you start smoking at 1 year old? Because, and then it's like, okay, you think you're being funny,
What?
but it's not funny.
Yeah. It's like, that's
Um,
not helpful.
yeah, yeah. So, just because like yeah, currently now I just finished 12 rounds of radiation and I'm on chemo, and I started taking the prednisone, and I don't know, like I'm super tired right now right now because I hadn't slept all night because of like the DC riots, watching that and just not being able to sleep, and like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, with prednisone, like my whole thing was like insomnia. The last time I was on prednisone for that long, I
Yes.
I ended up writing a children's book in 48 hours. And I was just like, I just had
Oh
so
my
much
gosh.
energy, so much
I
energy.
would just get up and like eat bananas. I would be up at like 3 a.m, but I would be in the kitchen.
Yeah,
I should have
yeah.
been more,
No, but I was
had my like
I was at a,
laptop in front of the kitchen.
yeah, no, I was at a clinic. It was like a rehab clinic.
Oh, okay.
And I was the
Oh, I
youngest
see. I
person
see.
there at the clinic, and we had to do exercises, and I was breaking all these records because they were
Oh my
producing me
gosh.
from like 80, 90-year-old people, and just like, wow,
It's like prednisone, like the new like limitless pill.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, but it does a lot of
yeah,
other
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
not so fun.
The
But
steroids, don't you?
yeah, so
Oh
that's the
gosh.
thing. Yeah, I'm on this vicious cycle where, because the effects of the chemo and the radiation like have messed like my esophagus. It feels like I'm swallowing knives
Oh.
every time I swallow, so I can't really eat. And I'm at the weight where I was like back in high school. And they're like, if you
Oh,
don't
wow.
put on some pounds, we're gonna have to put a feeding tube in you. And I'm like, I don't want that.
Oh.
So I'm like on Operation Fatten Me Up this week, try to see what I can do to gain some extra pounds. But
Yeah.
all this
Oh.
this is like why it's a marathon. Like you think you you're done with one thing, and then another thing pops up, and it's just like, and people think like, oh, okay, you can do it, you beat it, and it's done, you're in remission, no evidence of disease, you're done. It's like, No, I'm not. This is like a lifelong thing. So,
I think
yeah,
that must be the hardest thing to accept, Angie, isn't it? Just
yeah,
the
yeah.
journey of it all, really. And it's very tricky. I think very, very tricky. Very,
Mm.
very
I think definitely having recently come to the survivorship or survivorhood, I as well, I thought, okay, great, in remission, no evidence of disease.
Mhm.
Then I found out my immune system, I was literally geared up to go back to work. And then 2 weeks before I was starting, my first shift was scheduled. I wasn't really cleared to go back. And I was like, wait, but I'm in remission. Like, how is this
Mm.
affecting, wait, this is still affecting me?
Mm.
And just some future planning and just thinking about, I don't know if I am in menopause or not, or what's going
Mm.
on there. I have one ovary and tube left, and I'm 33. I had some ideas in my mind, like
Yeah.
I don't really
Yeah.
know what's going on with that regard. And that's another way it's going to continue to affect me. I have 2 daughters,
You would like
I
a
have to think about them, and
son?
it's going to continue to affect me, and it's going to affect them. And
Mm.
I'm learning what this means of, it's not just a bye, done, see you never. It's
Yeah.
like part of me, for better or for worse, it's always going to be a part of me.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, Frank, so obviously, I mean, you make up a good point where like cancer isn't over. You've got cancer, whether you've got no other incident disease or you're carrying on, it's never really over. And
Mm-hmm.
probably the trickiest bit actually is figure out how to manage that, and how to get through those different cycles because there'll still be appointments. There'll
Mm-hmm.
still be drugs that you're on, like for example, I'm on letrozole and
Mm-hmm.
some I've had my ovaries out. Every day I deal with the side effects or what have you, and I'm coming to
Mm-hmm.
the reality, and it's probably why I've got started meditation really or mindfulness just recently is just having to deal with that all because
Mm-hmm.
constantly reminded those sort of things and just how do you kind of deal with it as opposed to kind of like set it aside and say okay we're done now because what I was doing from the start or after I finished treatment is I was just putting it in the box. I was like
Mm-hmm.
I am done. Put
Mm-hmm.
it all in the box, put it away,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and then it had to come out of that box. Really, it had to come out of that box for me to move on, or me not move on. I think for me to learn how to live with. I would say,
Mm-hmm.
living with, and sort of getting through those cycles. Because I think Angie's had a lot of treatments where she's constantly at the doctors, constantly at the
Mm-hmm.
hospitals, but as she's
It's a
kind of moved
full-time
on the
job.
process.
It really is a full-time
Yeah,
job.
it's a full time job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just depends on where you're at and that sort of a thing. But it's yeah, cancer doesn't end after treatment stops. It's just the beginning actually, I think. And for me, that was actually
It
the hardest
is.
part because I didn't have that security blanket of chemotherapy, getting more checkups, that sort of a thing. It stops, and then obviously you have to learn to trust yourself. Do those checks, trust your body, all that sort of stuff, and then deal with the emotional effects. Because I don't know about you, but when I was doing the cancer thing with children, I kind of had to put it away and deal with the kids, and then
Yeah.
and then you kind of pick it up and get with it when you can really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. There's actually a good article that a doctor wrote. I think it was Dr. Harvey somebody. I can't remember his name, but I'll try and get it to you. But he wrote about sort of
Mm-hmm.
after treatment life and what that's like, and just the ups and downs of what the emotional effects are, but kind of that sort of
Mm-hmm.
roller coaster that you kind of go through or might be
Mm-hmm.
on at some point.
Yeah, and
I
a
guess
lot
it's
of
just
And,
times,
and
sorry. Now I was
yes,
about to
go
say a
ahead,
lot
Karen.
of times that we don't quite hear about it like people in our age group, because cancer is usually
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
talked about like after you've retired or like you're in your 50s, 60s, and it's not like in this age group where you're just like right at the beginning of like your family life and you've got kids and kids are
Yes.
not going to be waiting for a kid. They don't that doesn't affect them.
Mm-hmm.
It does affect them,
No.
but it's like you
It
still
does, but not. Yeah.
yeah. And it's just like, and so how do you do that? How do you deal with life plus, and then like with 2020, it's like everybody's like the pandemic. It's like, yeah, the pandemic plus cancer, like,
Plus. Yes. Yeah. It's everything plus.
yeah.
It is. And everything aside from cancer wasn't enough to juggle. I was struggling as it was to keep all those, the moving pieces of my life together. plus, then this hit, the pandemic, and then plus this. And it was just like, what in the, like there's definitely some different outlooks I have my life and lifestyle, or just whatever it is, mindfulness, or how I'm carrying on going forward with myself, I think higher priority than I was before. For
And then
whatever reason, I feel,
and then the other side, like seeing, your age mates carrying on life, without this cloud over their head. And it's like, it's almost like a loss of innocence. Like you're almost just like, wow, I can never go back to that. Like, I can never accidentally get pregnant or, like do all of these, complain about, like, gossip about, PTA, whatever, like just mundane things. It's just like, that's gone, which is good in a way, because you
some things I won't miss. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm okay with that. Other things I think I will miss, and I'll never be the same person. Like, there's no way I can. We're going forward from here, not backwards.
Yeah.
So I mean, kind of ending it, I suppose. What would be your top tip for somebody going through cancer treatment at the moment? And then where do you see yourself going, like future wise? Obviously you might have realized things that you enjoy more, or you might have, like you said, put some things aside. Where do you see yourself going? And what advice would you give to someone?
I would say, let's start with advice. I think at any point during treatment, I would say, still, all this sounds much easier said than done, but taking things one day at a time, like just break it down. This whole, cancer, the treatments, the appointments, the medicines, the side effects, everything that goes with it is so daunting, and you can't tackle it all at once. You have to break this down, and mindset included. Like, there's just, take it one step, right? Like one foot in front of the other. Get yourself going, and you're going to be all right. There will be a moment you're not going to be okay, and I think that's okay. We've all lived with that uncertainty, the fear, the unknown, and we've all sat in how uncomfortable that is, and we've come out much stronger. So I think it's not comfortable, but you're only going to gain something from this, and so one step at a time.
Definitely.
Yeah, Carly, you said your phrase all at once.
I know. I like it.
Oh, I did. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to play that song a little bit in this episode.
We're gonna have to make it the title of our podcast.
There are some really high notes in that song, so just look out for them. They are hard to hit. So then, so obviously advice for people, I think that's good. Just sort of saying, take it one step at a time, kind of, realize I'll have to say it now. You can't do it all at once. You can't do it all.
Yeah.
Particularly as moms, I think we can do it all, don't we?
Yeah.
Think we can do it all. But this one thing that you cannot do it all. You're going to have to ask for some help, and you're going to have to take it one step at a time. Now, that is excellent advice. And I think it's something that someone should follow or could follow with the supports in place. Where do you see yourself going future-wise? I'm not saying like down the road. Let's think in the moment here. Let's think in the moment.
Sure. I think my next steps are getting back to work, transitioning back to work, and being an attending. That was what I've trained for the last 12 years. And I just started and was just transitioning into, I was really just getting to being comfortable, and now I've been out almost a year. So I think it's going to take me a moment to to transition back into my, what I'm supposed to be doing there and what I want to do. Aside from that, I think the future is pretty open, and I think it's really exciting to think of it as a very open thing for me, because with medical training and kids, every minute of the last 12 years, well, since I left high school, so make that 16 years, has been extremely calculated to get me to where I am. And, then everything was flipped upside down with breast cancer and the pandemic. And now I feel this like freedom going forward of like, I see so many different opportunities, whether it's for a little creativeness, some writing, some advocacy, continuing to educate and empower related to breast cancer. I just see a lot of opportunities, and I'm a little excited to not know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's
Good.
that's actually a good way to put it. I mean, a good way to put it, really. And obviously, we see your creativity, your blog,
Yeah.
your dancing skills. I can't wait to see what's next. Actually, I'm waiting for the next video now. Aren't you, Angie?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very entertaining. I'm like, wow, where did she find the time? Like you're really, yeah.
I have
It's well, you have a song. You have the Whitney Houston song.
No, I'm not going to do a dance. Oh, no.
Why? Why not?
I'll save that for the house. But for the kids. But yeah, I've written the song down, MIA sort of warrior temple. I've got that down where they talk about that. So I'll be looking out for your next video. And where can people find you, really?
Yeah.
Where can they find
Yeah,
you?
so the best place to find me on is on my Instagram at Dr. Kavita Jackson. That's DrKavita Jackson, or at my blog, which is www.drladyblog.com. That's drladyblog.com.
Great. Now, are you gonna let that TikTok information out, or are you gonna keep it under wraps?
Oh yes, my TikTok is the same as my Instagram as well.
Okay.
I have them linked, so I kind of think of them as one account, but they are two separate. You're right. Yes, my TikTok as well, also at Dr. Kavita Jackson.
Sorry.
DM me, comment, email me, however it is. I'd love to connect, especially with anybody who is diagnosed or seasoned warrior, a wise warrior, whoever you are. This is a community that we are all now a part of, and we're stronger together.
Yeah,
we're always here to support you.
It's the club that you never wish to be a part of, but
yeah. We're here to welcome you from anywhere in the world, really.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you're there, it's good actually, because there's a lot of people out there, lots of support actually. So we definitely don't want people to join the club or get on the train or whatever it is. Yeah. But if you're there, I mean, there are supports available, and I think that's another one of those silver linings that exist.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think when you're ready.
Sorry, I was saying we're talking.
I was just saying, I think. Yes, we are 3 different time zones. Thanks to, all this technology that allows that to happen. Yeah. And I would just say when you're ready. Like, I think I read about the support groups and I knew that was all available. I didn't reach out to a single person with breast cancer actually till after my double mastectomy. So that was well into remission for me. I can't really articulate super well. I didn't think it would. I don't know. I wasn't comfortable doing it and that kind of stuff. And now having connected with so many people, I think once I was ready and comfortable to open up and connect with others, it's been huge. That's how I've met the two of you and so many people through social media that, I just realized this place where I felt so alone is like the opposite. Now I feel like I know more people with breast cancer or affected by cancer in any way than I don't. So
yeah.
And I mean, just sort of to end this, I think you kind of mentioned a key point is it's all about when you're ready. You don't have to just jump out support. Just get it when you're ready. And you'll know when you're ready. You'll know when you're ready. Mm-hmm. You'll feel and when you're ready, there are people there. We're not alone on this journey. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, people wouldn't, maybe talk about these sort of things, with younger people with cancer or what have you. Just wouldn't be something that would be talked about, or they wouldn't, we wouldn't have had this sort of support network that we do due to the technology, really. So definitely grateful for that, and would like to thank you for coming on the show, Kavita.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Carly. Thank you both of you guys for staying up for me tonight.
Yeah, sorry, it's like almost
to join
midnight.
You guys.
It's almost midnight for me, and these drugs are really taking. Oh, it's 12:05 actually. Yeah, these drugs are like really hitting me, and so I'm just like, my head is sorry.
Yes, please. I hope you get some rest tonight and get the calories in that you need tomorrow.
Yeah, let me know if you have any tips on high caloric foods and drinks that I can take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know like most of the regular protein shakes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
you doing anything like a magic mouthwash to help with the
Oh,
discomfort?
what is it? I've been trying. I mean, the doctors gave me some baking soda thing and some mucus thing for like the thrush in my mouth and the esophagus. But what's this? Do you know what's this magic?
Magic mouthwash, it's 1 part Benadryl to lidocaine, and sometimes simethicone, or there's a third component that's added in there. So they're all three can, I believe, depends on, what's over the counter there. You can either get them over the counter, the 3 different medications, or get them prescribed, and it's just a 1-to-1-to-1 mixture. You swish it around in your mouth. You can kind of gargle back here, and it just numbs everything up for you. So some people who've had thrush and have a lot of, or esophagitis and
Yeah.
some discomfort, adults or kids, we use that sometimes.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
at least maybe ask. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to ask. Maybe.
Yeah.
Have you ever, Auntie, have you ever been given like a mouthwash? Because I know when I had lots of ulcers
Yeah.
and things, they give you a mouthwash that helps.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
thrush
They
is
had
a-
it, but it's just like baking
Maybe
soda.
it's the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh,
And the throat of yours, just so you can get food down,
Oh.
really.
Yeah.
yeah.
Tricky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you should probably stop
Anyway,
recording now.
I'll get through it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if we should keep that in the recording,
No, no. We keep it
I don't
real.
want
We keep
anyone
it
to try
real.
to, I don't, I don't want anyone to make that concoction from my recommendation alone.
Yeah. No, actually, not.
Wait. What's the
Think
disclaimer
you're-
you say? Like, there's a disclaimer, like the
Oh yeah, I
Right.
mean, in general, that I don't give any medical advice. Please
Right.
consult your doctor.
Yes, please.
That's
consult
kind of
your
what I
doctor.
say, blanket statement. Yeah.
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 It's hard, with one piece of information,
Mhm.
it's like I could say so many things, but I don't have the complete picture. So
Yeah. You just need something to
that was my disclaimer. Don't mix that without talking to your doctor.
Exactly.
something to numb, don't you? Something to numb this, like, is it lots of pain when you in that area, like in your throat? Like there's a
Yeah,
knife
I mean,
here
I
and
don't
there's
feel it when I'm talking. It's more so when I'm swallowing, and it feels like it's
Oh,
just
and
like
you
swallowing
swallow.
down knives. Just like it's
Yeah.
and it makes it very unpleasant to
Sounds
eat.
so unpleasant.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
becomes a vicious cycle because it's like you don't want to eat because it hurts too much, but you have to eat because you have to keep on the pounds to like be able to do the
What do you
chemo.
think it is then? What do they think it is then? So if it's not thrush, what is it then?
No, it's the side effect from like the radiation, the chemo, like the esophagitis thing.
Oh,
What they call it.
esophagitis.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
said it's gonna take
Okay.
about 2 months to like clearly go away. So now I just have to like
Wow.
use my willpower and just like, suck it up and just be like, look, you're just gonna have to fatten yourself up and eat even if it hurts and try to distract myself, by like watching Netflix or watching TV while I'm eating and
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. So eat as you're doing.
yeah.
That's how they say you can normally gain weight if you're not.
Those are the things I need to not do.
Yeah.
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 I mean, the funny thing about breast cancer, I mean, there are lots of funny things, but I think the whole thing, like with the weight gain or what have you, like,
Mhm.
your breast cancer estrogen positive, or was it estrogen positive, or
Negative. I'm all triple negative.
triple negative? Yeah. So with the estrogen positive or estrogen positive, as they say in the States, the hormonal therapy drugs or what have you, they just
Mhm.
just put on. I mean, I didn't gain weight through chemo
Yeah.
or what have you, maybe like 5 pounds, and then I got on these sort of or what have you, and bam, it was there. It's like
Oh.
when you go on steroids and I mean,
Yes.
when you gain like 8 pounds in a week or something, but then it doesn't
Yes.
you, but then you just kind of like eat more. And then
I have a strong family history of diabetes, and I had gestational diabetes when I was pregnant, and so I'm very cognizant, paranoid and fearful, and trying to be mindful of not developing diabetes myself. And then the steroids did not help
Yeah.
with any of that.
Yeah.
So
just different, that different cycle. But it's tricky though. It's tricky, but
Yeah.
you just got to hang in there, Angie, don't you?
Yeah, no.
yeah.
It's like I said, it's a marathon. It continues. I'm hanging in there. Have no choice. But yeah, I mean, it's great that, we're able to connect with you, Dr. Kavita.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
coming.
you guys so much, and I don't want to keep you guys up so late. Thank you again for adjusting the time and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to hear when this comes out and continue to stay connected.
Yeah.
Do you have any like headshots or pictures that you can send me?
I
so
do. Yeah. Can I email them over?
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be great,
Sure.
actually. And what we'll do is we'll probably get you out. I'll type up the show notes or what have you, and take some pictures, your pictures, what have you, and start working on the promotion side of things. So I just had we just had another podcast that came out, and I just need to do a couple more things for her, like video and audio sound, and then I can sort of get yours out as well. But I did like a post today about the run up to it or what have you.
Yeah, we're newbies, and we're going along. We're learning as we're going along, because we're like, we have no time to become podcast
So am I.
experts, and
We're learning as we grow, as we got all this technology.
Yeah.
But we recently had I don't know if have you ever heard of Ananda Lewis?
No.
She was maybe a little bit. Maybe you were a little bit too young for her, because you're 33, right? Yeah, she was more from generation.
Yeah, she's more like late 30s.
A little bit, yeah, our generation. But
so we recently did some episodes with her. So after your podcast out, we'll probably do hers out after. So
yes, she was a VJ.
Very cool.
VJ for MTV and BET, like back in the 90s.
And, I feel like that name sounds so familiar. I'm sorry, I'm gonna
probably
remember.
Yeah, because she recently disclosed that she had breast cancer.
That she had. Okay, maybe that's why I know that name, because it like came up with Yeah, she does look real familiar to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
wow.
no, but it's great, connecting with people, like so many amazing people who are going through this. And statistics say that like 1 in 2 people will develop cancer in our lifetime. So this is going to be something that a lot of people are going to have to deal with, whether they want to or not.
And not even the topic here, but it's like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what is in our weather, environment, chemical, what is it that is,
Definitely.
I'm just curious to see, and I know there's a little research and stuff, but it's just like mind-boggling to me, I don't understand.
Your mind will go crazy if you try to, discern like why and why me, and what is it in my body, and how can I control it, and like it'll bring you down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. That's the one when I was first diagnosed, I was like, I can't get past it because I'm still stuck on how and why. Those are things I'll never have the answer to, and I know that now. Like,
and you have to be satisfied with that. Like you have to be,
and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
To move forward.
Yeah. Tricky, isn't it? Tricky. Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Well, good night, both of you.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Have a good
so
night.
just email over any headshots or anything, and I'll get I'll start getting the information out, so it should be coming out soon. Just bear with me with this homeschooling.
Sure, no problem. No problem. No, you're juggling a lot. Everybody is juggling a lot. Both of you guys, especially. You have the plus. So
exactly.
All right. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.